Are you on the right side of history? Do you worry about being on the right side of history? Are you up at night thinking, am I on the right side of history? Let's talk about it. Hello, everyone. This is Keith, and welcome to the Gendo Sapien channel, your home of inner city intelligence. The right side of history. We hear politicians say that all the time, especially the ones who have run out of arguments and they're just using appeals to authority just to make you feel bad or whatever about them. Just to make you feel bad if you disagree with them. They kind of suggest that you're wrong and time's going to prove you wrong. And I don't think that's going to be the case. I think most of the ones that use that weak ass argument are on the wrong side of history and are just trying to, instead of persuade you, to trying to frighten you or guilt trip you into agreeing with them. And with time, it's time and distance make it easier to look back and see, look at history and be able to judge people using our moral values. We place judgments on people back in their time period, and we think we would never do anything like that. We would have been on the right side of history had, say, like when it was goose stepping in gas chambers, we'd easily know which side to be on. But you can't be too cocky, because say like you're in the 1930s and 1940s Germany, you would never believe you'd throw one of your neighbors on a boxcar. But it doesn't go from just being, your neighbor and you're having a good time, and all of a sudden, you're making them put on a yellow Star of David and treating them like, human garbage. Your government can get you to dehumanize your neighbor quite easily, easier than you think. I mean, it first starts off where they kind of hint that your neighbor is against you or doesn't, or his political differences aren't just political differences, they're personal differences. Like, you should hate your neighbor because he doesn't agree with you politically. And then, like, your neighbor shouldn't have the ability to speak in public square because, you have political differences and you're naturally right and he's, of course, horribly wrong. And he doesn't have shouldn't have the right to a job. He shouldn't have the right to defend himself. And you could be incrementally moved into dehumanizing almost anyone. So you need to be careful of that. If you think that your hand wouldn't be the one on the gun or the gate, you to be standing guard in front of a concentration camp, you really have to know your own nature and how it can be manipulated. And we're all equally capable of committing acts of evil given the right circumstances. So you have to be on guard against that, and just don't easily dismiss and say, I'd never do such and such, because you don't know for sure. And if you think you're incapable of it, you're probably one of the more capable of it because you won't see it coming. And again, I'm not excusing the horrors of the Holocaust. I think all the people who were involved, hopefully they got their justice in this life or the life after that. But I'm just saying that it's easy to look back in time with the space of time and the benefit of time and distance and make judgments. Same thing to be said for slavery. We look back at the slavery of the 1800s and beyond, because let's face it, slavery has been a standard, the default position of man for the default condition for man for a long time. So it's easy to think in our modern era, with our modern conveniences, that I'd be against slavery. Maybe you would. I'd like to think you would. I'd like to think I would. But the person living in Boston, who enjoyed the cotton, his cotton clothing and the sugar in his tea, they may have tolerated slavery because they didn't even see it for the most part. They of course got the benefits from it, but it's easy to dismiss it when you don't see it. So it took extraordinary people at that time to say, look, I don't care about the cotton in my shirt. I don't care about the sugar in my tea. This is wrong. And they didn't even see it. For the most part, the abolition movement that started in the North that was on the right side of history may not have been all that popular in the beginning because people like their conveniences. If you don't think so, think about all the people today who have electrical vehicles or batteries in their cell phones. They don't think about where that battery technology comes from, where the materials come from. They're children in mines right now. They're 12 years old or thereabouts. I don't know how much they're getting paid, if they're getting paid at all, but they're pretty much slaves. But since we don't see them, or we have the distance of time, we have the benefits of distance in this case, people put up with it because it's convenient. And it's awful. We'll probably be judged this period of time as harshly as the people who lived with slavery in the South in the 1800s. So, yeah, like I said, it's easy to believe that you're on the right side of history, but are you sure? But that's one of the benefits of today. I think today we live in an age of myths and madness. It's just insane the things we think of. I mean, it's insane the things that are... The things that are going on today are really crazy. And it's made it easy, at least to me, to be on the right side of history because I'm pretty sure that I am pro-life. I believe that life begins at conception. And I think that all the benefits and protections of being a person, of personhood, should be passed on and given to and recognized, not given to, because it should be recognized. Personhood should be recognized at conception and all the protections that come with it. Yeah, it's easy for me to just blurt it out like that. So personhood, that's my belief, and I believe that puts me on the right side of history. I believe personhood begins at conception. That's the most consistent belief. I'm not even going to say that I have my religious beliefs that back that up, but I think science will back it up too, and logic and reason too, because if you don't give personhood to a person or recognize personhood at the moment of conception, then at what point does it begin? What threshold is crossed where personhood all of a sudden is recognized along our human development? If the most consistent way to do it is start at conception. And I think also, like Roe versus Wade, that decision also takes into account viability. Once the fetus, the unborn, is considered viable outside of the womb, even Roe versus Wade says you shouldn't, that's where it should stop, abortion and such. And I think that window of when you're not viable outside of the fetus is shrinking due just to advances of science. I think eventually it'll be able to take a fertilized egg and place it into an artificial womb and let it grow from there. So the whole pro-abortion issue would just be moot at that point because science will make it just nullify the whole argument altogether. Now, I don't know what it'll do to the human psyche for a child to grow up in an artificial womb versus a natural one. But that's a topic for another issue. But I think eventually that will be an option. And again, so I think I'm going to be on the right side of history by being pro-life. But that's just me. Next thing I think I'm going to be on the right side of history is my belief that biological men should not be competing in women's sports. Men are stronger, faster. Our bones are more dense. Our muscles are more dense. In almost any physical activity, men are superior to women. You may not like the word superior, but I'm just talking physical capabilities in sports. Men can just outdo women just about in every sport. So it's ridiculous to have biological men compete with women in sports. You won't have women's sports anymore. So I'm sticking with that one. That's gonna stand the time, stand the test of time. Let's see what's next. Where I'm pretty sure I'm going to be on the right side of history. And again, this is so much easier to be on the right side of history nowadays because of how utterly ridiculous so many of our stances have become. This culture's taking some strange stances. So the other thing is, I think that the whole movement for trans children is demonic. Children should not be involved in this madness. We should not be giving puberty blockers to young girls and boys. A boy who may play with dolls, or a girl who wants to climb a tree and play with trucks. She shouldn't have her. She shouldn't be subject to or talked into a radical mastectomy and lose her breasts. Boys shouldn't have their should be taking chemical castration pills, drugs, and that is not that's being pushed nowadays by politicians, high as the president, as like transitional health drugs or whatever the hell. It's just insane. They're not even thinking about how they're going to look 10, 20, 30 years from now. They look like monsters just recommending these horrible things, these mutilations to children. So yeah, I'm taking a strong stance on that one. I don't think I'm taking, I'm not standing out on a limb on that one. That's going to stand the test of time too. I think I'm on the right side of history with my beliefs and my stance on leave children the hell out of this whole gender fluid ridiculous argument. Next, I also believe that men can't get pregnant. I'm going to stick to that one too. I think that's going to stand the test of time. Men cannot get pregnant. No way, shape, or form. It's never happened in history, and it never will happen. Men cannot get pregnant, but yet you see politicians, you see bureaucrats working in the government who will say that men can get pregnant. The internet's as close to eternity as we're going to get in this life. So the things you say now, you have to, and you're saying on camera, like I'm doing right now. I always try to keep that in mind. So the things I say, my grandchildren are going to see, my children are going to see, my great grandchildren will probably see, and you have to take that into account. That you don't look like a moron and probably shame your entire bloodline for the next millennia by saying men can get pregnant and be on camera saying that. That's not gonna age well. That's gonna look pretty ridiculous. That might, in a more savage future, get your whole bloodline cut off because they don't want the stupid of your genetic material mixing in with their gene pool. So yeah, I'm sticking with that one. That is that's a pretty easy bet that I'm on the right side of history, believing that men can't get pregnant. Cannot. My last one is probably my edgiest one. Is I believe in traditional male-female roles. I think men like going out of the house. They like working late hours more than women do. I think men want to be the hero of the household. They want to be the breadwinner. They want to go out and kill something and drag it home for the wife to prepare for the family. I think women, more than they're admitting, would rather not have to go to work and be one of the major contributors to income in a household where you're dependent on them. Not saying they don't want to go out and work and contribute to society in that way. But I don't think they like it as much when they have to. I think, and I'm not a woman, but I'm married to one, I think they like it best when they get to work at home. I'm not going to say stay home like they're not doing anything, because my wife, I put her in retirement a couple of years ago, and so she doesn't have to go out and work, but she's out all the time. She's, running errands, she's doing stuff for the house, doing stuff for the family. She makes herself available for her parents who are elderly. They need help. She's there for our kids who are grown now, but she's there for them. and she does a lot of the finances, but she doesn't have to go work for somebody. She doesn't have to go listen to some other dude tell her what to do at a boss. And I think women secretly would prefer that. Most of them. So yeah, that's probably gonna get me canceled, but I'm sticking with that. I'm gonna go down believing that is on the right side of history. Traditional male-female roles. But that's it. I think I've got myself into enough trouble tonight. What's your comment? Like, shink, like, share, comment, and subscribe.